she's just mum. Prince William and Kate are proud parents to Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis.
The public is familiar with Princess Charlotte, who is the daughter of Prince William and Princess Catherine. She is constantly in the spotlight. The young royal has become a well-liked figure not only in the United Kingdom, but also all over the world due to her calm demeanor and her infectiously warm and charming personality. Nevertheless, it was not her royal title or her flawlessly polished appearance at a recent event that captured the attention of people all over the world. Rather, it was an unplanned and unanticipated act of kindness that left everyone engaged in conversation. During her journey to an official royal engagement, Princess Charlotte was caught on camera engaging in an activity that neither she nor anyone else had anticipated. At that moment, she came to a sudden halt, despite the fact that she was dressed impeccably for the event and was surrounded by the usual flurry of royal protocol. What is the reason? An individual who is without a home is taking a seat by the side of the road. A day that was otherwise routine was transformed into a moment that would go viral across the world as a result of what transpired after that, which shocked everyone who was present. Despite the fact that she was only 8 years old, Princess Charlotte defied royal tradition by leaving the world she had carefully curated in order to connect with a person that society frequently ignores. Her performance was not rehearsed or planned. Rather, it was an unfiltered and genuine demonstration of humanity. She reached into her small handbag, handed the man some money, and then took the time to speak with him, offering words of support and comfort. All of this took place while the entire world watched. A level of empathy and awareness that was far beyond her years was revealed through this apparently insignificant but profound gesture. However, what was it about this act that caused such a profound impact on people all over the world? Possibly due to the fact that it was a young person who made it? Another possible explanation is that it posed a challenge to the general public's conception of what it means to be a royal. As we unpack the details of Princess Charlotte's incredible act of kindness, the reactions it inspired, and the ways in which this young royal's actions sent a powerful message to the world, we invite you to join us. The royal family was getting ready for a grand event that would honor the contributions of local charities. The morning was bright and sunny in London, and all eyes were on them as they made preparations there. One of the most notable events of the day was the presence of Princess Charlotte, who was accompanied by Prince William and Princess Catherine. Charlotte exemplified poise and grace that made her appear much older than her years. She was dressed in a traditional navy coat and had her hair neatly tied back. The purpose of the event was to demonstrate the royal family's dedication to various social causes. However, no one could have anticipated that Charlotte herself would steal the show in a manner that no one could have scripted. There was a lot of activity going on in the streets that were surrounding the venue. A large number of people gathered, waving flags bearing the Union Jack and hoping to catch a glimpse of their favorite royals. Photographers were stationed along the streets, their cameras trained on every movement that occurred. When Charlotte was holding her mother's hand, she exuded an air of calmness, and her small handbag was neatly tucked away at her side. The members of the royal family made their way towards the entrance of the event with self-assurance, exchanging friendly smiles and waves with those who were present. As far as I could tell, everything was going according to plan. Charlotte's attention was then drawn to something that was out of the ordinary. She became aware of a homeless man who was sitting on the pavement just beyond the barriers as they approached the final stretch before the venue. It was a stark contrast to the pomp and splendor of the event that his worn clothes and downcast eyes told a story of hardship. His eyes were downcast and his clothes were worn. In contrast to the majority of people who passed by without giving it a second thought, Charlotte paused. Her eyes lingered on the man, and her face, which was relatively small, conveyed both concern and curiosity. As a result of the fact that royals are frequently advised to keep a certain level of distance during public appearances, observers initially believed that she would be gently guided away. On the contrary, Charlotte took everyone by surprise. She gave her mother's hand a gentle tug and murmured something that was not audible to anyone else. Although she appeared to be momentarily taken aback, Princess Catherine lowered herself to listen, and her expression softened as she nodded her head in agreement. Charlotte walked towards the man while holding her small handbag tightly in her hand. Her determination was so strong that it belied her childlike age. A hush fell over the crowd as they were unsure of what was taking place. Even the photographers paused, momentarily forgetting their cameras as they watched the young princess perform an action that no one had anticipated she would perform. When Charlotte got closer to the man, he raised his head, and his expression changed from one of surprise to one of gratitude upon seeing her. A gentle smile appeared on Charlotte's face as she reached into her handbag and pulled out a small bill that was folded. Her sincerity was palpable as she approached him with both hands and handed it to him. Nevertheless, the moment was not only remarkable because of the money that was involved. While speaking softly to the man, Charlotte lowered herself slightly and crouched down. Witnesses later described the exchange as being sincere and heartfelt, despite the fact that their words were unable to be heard over the murmurs occurring among the crowd. The money was accepted by the man, who was visibly moved, with hands that were shaking. It was clear that he was grateful even without words, as he repeatedly nodded his head. A glimmer of optimism in the midst of a day that was otherwise difficult to endure, Charlotte's uncomplicated act appeared to spark something within him. The barriers of social class and privilege vanished for a fleeting instant, and it was just one human being connecting with another on that particular occasion. It was a scene that was extremely moving and surreal at the same time. Those who were watching were taken aback and unsure of whether they should applaud or simply take in the moment. The expression on Princess Catherine's face, which was filled with admiration for her daughter, was one of pride as she watched from a few steps away. Even Prince William, who is known for his serenity, appeared visibly moved by the situation. When Charlotte went back to be with her parents, the crowd erupted in astonishment and murmured about how surprised they were. Immediately, photographers went back to their work, capturing the moment that would soon become widely shared on the internet. There was a noticeable change in the atmosphere as the royal family continued their journey towards the event. Thanks to Charlotte's unplanned act of generosity, what was supposed to be a formal occasion had been transformed into something completely different. The unanticipated encounter not only left an indelible mark on the individuals who were present at the time, but it also laid the groundwork for the subsequent reaction that was going to take place on a global scale. Princess Charlotte's action served as a potent reminder that compassion is not limited by geographical or political boundaries, and that even the smallest acts of kindness can have repercussions that extend well beyond the immediate context. The brief but profound encounter that Princess Charlotte had with a homeless man was not merely an act of kindness. Rather, it was a moment that left an indelible mark on everyone who witnessed it. The actions that Charlotte took felt authentic, unscripted, and profoundly human, despite the fact that they were taking place in the midst of royal formality and the carefully choreographed movements of her family. As the young princess approached the man, her diminutive figure stood out in stark contrast to the splendor of the environment in which she was situated. She walked with purpose, clutching her handbag tightly, a picture of innocence and determination, she said as she stood there. It was both heartwarming and surprising to see her instinctive response to someone who was in need, considering that she was brought up in a world of abundant privilege. During that particular instant, Charlotte was not only a member of the royal family, she was also a young girl who was showing compassion to a person whom society frequently ignores. A look of uncertainty appeared on the man's face as he looked up, clearly startled by the young royal's approach. His face was etched with the marks of adversity, his garments were worn and tattered, and his posture made it clear that he was someone who was accustomed to being ignored. However, the presence of Charlotte seemed to make the atmosphere around him more positive. She smiled warmly as she opened her handbag, revealing a bill that had been folded in an orderly fashion. When she handed it to him, it was clear that she was being completely honest. Nevertheless, Charlotte's behavior did not end there. While most people might have anticipated that she would simply hand over the money and leave, she stooped down to have a conversation with the individual. Her voice was described as being soft but clear, and her words were filled with curiosity and concern, according to witnesses. Onlookers later recalled the man nodding and smiling faintly, as if he couldn't quite believe what was happening. This was despite the fact that the conversation itself was private. Connecting with others was more important to Charlotte than philanthropy in this situation. She did not treat the man as a person deserving of pity, but rather as a person who deserved to be treated with care and respect. She demonstrated a level of empathy that was befitting of her young age at that very moment, bridging the gap between two worlds that couldn't be more different from one another. With a voice that was shaking, the man, who was obviously profoundly moved, expressed his gratitude. It was as he clutched the money that Charlotte had given him that tears began to well up in his eyes. However, the genuine care and attention that she provided was what made the difference for him. It was not just the financial gesture that he was moved by. According to reports, he uttered the words, "You are very kind," with his voice breaking with emotion. Charlotte smiled and responded softly before standing back up, demonstrating that she was unfazed by the attention that was surrounding her. The audience, which had been stunned and silent at first, started to murmur with awe and admiration as the event progressed. Astonishment was felt by those who witnessed Charlotte's actions because of their genuineness. In this instance, it was not a rehearsed royal appearance or a staged moment for the cameras. Rather, it was an act of pure compassion from a child who simply saw someone in need. It appeared as though even the royal entourage was taken aback. A warm smile spread across Princess Catherine's face as she watched from a few steps away, and her expression was one of obvious pride. Even though he is known for his quiet demeanor, Prince William appeared to be visibly moved. It could not be denied that this particular moment was just as unexpected to them as it was to everyone else. In order to follow her heart, Charlotte had gone against the norms of royal protocol, and her family could not have been more proud of her decision. Within a short period of time, the news of the moment spread. In a short amount of time, photographers who had been following the royal family around and photographing their every move shifted their focus to the interaction. The social media platforms were flooded with pictures of Princess Charlotte kneeling next to the man and handing him the money within a matter of hours. The response was immediate and overwhelmingly powerful. Charlotte's complete lack of self-interest enthralled the general public. Her actions became a phenomenon that spread like wildfire, igniting discussions about empathy, privilege, and the significance of seemingly insignificant actions. Many people took to various social media platforms to express their admiration for the charming young princess. The words, "This is what true royalty looks like," were written by one user, and another user added, "Charlotte's kindness has reminded us all what it means to be human." A great number of people found the moment particularly moving because it was delivered by someone who was so young. Charlotte, who was only 8 years old at the time, had successfully demonstrated a level of awareness and compassion that even adults frequently struggle to achieve. Her action was meaningful, not only because of who she was, but also because it served as a reminder that an act of kindness can be extended beyond the boundaries of social class, financial status, and social standing. The response of the homeless man became an important pivotal point in the narrative as well. The man was profoundly moved by Charlotte's generosity, and he described it as a moment that he would never forget, according to the responses he provided during interviews with witnesses. According to the reports, he stated, "She did not simply give me money. She made me feel like I mattered and that I was seen." There was a change in the energy that was present in the atmosphere as the royal family continued on to their event. As a result of Charlotte's unanticipated actions, what was supposed to be a formal event that highlighted charitable organizations had already transformed into a profound lesson in compassion. By performing a seemingly insignificant act of kindness, she had set off a chain reaction that prompted those in her immediate vicinity to reevaluate their own capacity to effect change. The spontaneous act of kindness that Princess Charlotte performed was not only heartwarming, it was also a bold departure from royal protocol, a move that left many people surprised and inspired. The members of the British royal family are frequently regarded as symbols of tradition and decorum. To ensure that they continue to exude an air of dignity and reserve, their every action is meticulously planned and executed. Direct interaction with the public, particularly in such a personal and unplanned manner, is extremely unusual for royals, and it is especially unusual for someone as young as Charlotte to engage in such an interaction. During public appearances, it is customary to anticipate that members of the royal family will keep a certain level of dignity and objectivity. This is not done out of a lack of warmth. Rather, it is done to guarantee safety, preserve structural integrity, and preserve the reputation of the monarchy. On the other hand, spontaneous gestures, particularly those that are as personal as interacting with a homeless person, are uncommon and can sometimes even be interpreted as violations of the unspoken rules that govern royal behavior. Charlotte, on the other hand, appeared to be blissfully unaware of these expectations. The possibility is that she simply did not care. As soon as she became aware of the homeless man, her natural inclination was not to turn away or continue walking. Rather than following her instincts, she went ahead and asked her mother for permission to approach him by pulling on her mother's hand. The rigid barriers that frequently exist between the royal family and the people they represent were broken down by a single moment that was captured in photographs and widely disseminated. People who were observing and commenting on royal affairs were quick to recognize the significance of her actions. One of the analysts made the observation that this is not something that we typically see from the royals. The gesture that Charlotte made defied expectations and demonstrated a level of humanity that deeply resonated with people all over the world. It is extraordinary that a child of her age would not only notice but also act upon her compassion in such a public setting. In addition, her actions reflected the values that were instilled in her by her parents, Prince William and Princess Catherine, who, despite the fact that they are members of the royal family, have made it a priority to bring up their children to be more compassionate and grounded. William and Catherine have been very open about the fact that they want to instill in their children the values of compassion and understanding of the people who are going through difficult times. Charlotte's impromptu action was a clear reflection of these lessons that she could have learned. Not only did Charlotte's actions garner the attention of the entire world, but they also conveyed a powerful message. Even the most privileged among us are capable of connecting with and providing assistance to those who are in need. Her act served as a reminder to everyone that acts of kindness do not have to be in accordance with any particular rules or traditions. Rather, they must simply originate from the heart. As a result of her actions, Princess Charlotte demonstrated that there are times when breaking the mold is precisely what is required to make a difference. A wave of admiration and conversation was sparked as a result of the unexpected act of kindness that Princess Charlotte performed, which sent shockwaves across the world. Virtually instantaneously, photographs and videos of the event started making their way around social media, which resulted in a frenzy of viral activity. The young royal's genuine compassion and unfiltered humanity captivated people from all walks of life, regardless of their connection to the monarchy. This was the case regardless of whether or not they supported the monarchy. Within a matter of hours, hashtags such as Just Princess Charlotte and Royal Kindness became popular on social media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Online users flooded the internet with praise for Charlotte's actions, describing her as a beacon of hope and a reminder of the power of small acts of kindness. Many users pointed out the profound symbolism of such a gesture coming from someone who was so young and privileged, remarking on how it highlighted the significance of empathy regardless of one's status. One viral tweet captured the sentiment perfectly. Princess Charlotte's simple act of stopping for a homeless man has done more to connect the monarchy with the people than any grand gesture ever could. Others shared personal stories of how they were inspired to perform their own acts of kindness, with some even organizing donation drives for local shelters in Charlotte's honor. The story was also picked up by media outlets all over the world, which increased its reach. For several days, the news cycle was dominated by headlines such as Princess Charlotte's compassion shines bright and a royal gesture that touched the world. Her actions have been praised by television programs and online commentators as a demonstration of the changing image of the royal family, which is one that places a higher value on genuineness and connection than on rigid tradition. At the same time that he became the focal point of the moment, the homeless man became the focal point of the story. In interviews, he expressed his disbelief and gratitude, describing Charlotte's act as a life-changing moment. He also shared how her kindness restored his faith in humanity, adding, "She made me feel seen and valued, something I hadn't felt in a long time." Charlotte's act was described as a life-changing moment. Additionally, broader conversations about privilege and responsibility broke out as a result of the event. Numerous individuals expressed their admiration for the royal family's endeavors to instill the values of humility and kindness in their offspring, citing Charlotte's actions as an illustration of how such teachings can have a ripple effect that results in significant change. The unplanned act of kindness that Princess Charlotte performed was not merely a fleeting gesture. Rather, it evolved into a potent demonstration of compassion, humanity, and the capacity to make a difference in the world, regardless of who you are. With her actions, she broke through barriers in a world that is frequently consumed by formality and tradition. Her actions demonstrated that kindness is not limited by titles, wealth, or status. Charlotte brought to everyone's attention the fact that even the most insignificant acts of compassion can have a significant impact. What makes her gesture so remarkable is the fact that it is so straightforward. Despite the fact that cameras were pointed in her direction and the weight of royal protocol loomed large, Charlotte did not hesitate to connect with someone who was in need. Her decision to stop, offer assistance, and have a conversation with the homeless man was a moment of unadulterated humanity that struck a chord with people all over the world. It served as a timely reminder that compassion is not about making grand gestures. Rather, it is about recognizing the value of another person and providing assistance at the precise moment when it is required the most. This moment has been met with an overwhelming response from the general public, which reflects a growing appreciation for authenticity, particularly from figures as prominent as the royal family. Princess Charlotte's actions were not simply motivated by a desire to help others. Rather, they were motivated by a desire to connect with others. Even at a young age, she demonstrated to the world that she is someone who understands the significance of treating other people with dignity and respect. Beyond her royal lineage, Princess Charlotte's legacy is expanding as her photographs and story continue to serve as a source of inspiration. Because of her modest act of generosity, conversations have been started, people have been moved to take action, and we have all been reminded of the significance of looking beyond ourselves to assist other people. It is not titles or wealth that define greatness. Rather, it is the ability to lead with compassion that is the defining characteristic of greatness. The question that arises at this point is straightforward. How can we emulate her behavior? Just like Charlotte, each of us possesses the ability to make a difference, regardless of how insignificant the action may be. It only takes a single instant to alter the course of a person's life, and perhaps even the entire world.